If I could summarize to me the key elements, leadership is still at the top of everything. And the strategic clarity for business development, if it's not there, how many times we had to go to a client and there is a certain level of confusion because every partner has their own agenda, which is normal. So it's not that partners need to stop to do what they have to do, but the overall firm needs to understand what's the direction they want to go to, and then put the resources in place. And the structure needs to also respond to that strategy, whether it's sector focus, whether it's practice focus. I mean, there is so many different options. But without that, then professionals cannot manage, and do their own job properly because they get noise from everywhere and it's firefighting every single day.
Yeah. And alongside those three pillars of stuff that have to be done, and they do have to be done in every firm, no matter what size it is, there are different ways for a firm to then structure the team to deliver that, and whether that's delivered on a sectoral basis, on a practice group basis, on a sort of task-led basis. So that's the pitch team, they do pitches, that's the comms team, they do PR, and that bit of it does internal comms. Whether it's done, it doesn't matter, it's what suits your business as the business is developing. But your business now is going to be, hopefully, different in 10 years' time, and it has to change. So you have to keep looking at all of the practice management services you've got, from BD to finance to IT, and saying, are they appropriate for us now, and are they scalable for the future? Because that's the thing that's missing, is that look at the future and saying, where do we need to go to, and do we need to prepare now?
And I know you've been advising a number of firms globally on this, and the question is always, how do we design our business development? Who do we need in the team, and how do we organise that? Could it be that we're looking in the wrong direction? And the starting point is, what do we expect from each other as partners? And then as a result, what BD do we need to support that?
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I think it's got to be partner-led, but again, it's got to be done as a team. And there are some things that business development people do better than lawyers, and there are some things that lawyers do better than BD people. And it's got to be structured around what people do best, because resource is limited. Good lawyers are limited, good BD people are limited, so you've got to make the best use of the resources you have.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, what I've seen that it works best is when there is diverse teams, and diverse as for categories and expertise, teams of people working together. But unavoidably have to be led by a partner. And when they transfer that leadership role to the BD person, that is when there is a question, because it's lacking sponsor, kind of authority support, and that doesn't work. So I think involving as well associates at a very early stage with tasks related to client management or development, or even marketing or communications. So involving them as soon as possible, but always with a partner-led approach, whether it's within the teams or the action that they decide to make.
And the number of clients are telling us at the moment, they can hire lawyers, but they can't hire business professionals. They can't persuade senior, serious business professionals to join them. And as a result, the salaries are going up, and there's a great amount of movement across firms. So what is the tension here, and what are the options for overcoming it?
Well, I think one of the tensions is remuneration. BD people are not paid as much as the lawyers are, and yet they are expected to take a lot of responsibility for the work they do. So there does need to be a bit of a cold towel moment, I think, with remuneration of BD people within law firms. Most of them don't have access to partnership, for example. They certainly don't have access to equity partnership. So there's an important structural issue in there. But there's also the business of roles and keeping good people. Keeping good people is a problem across many, many different sectors. But you keep lawyers because to go very old-fashioned, they are used to the lockstep system. So they just stay with the firm, they build up their equity within the firm, and that's what happens. There is not the same system for BD people. So there is no room to grow as a person doing BD. There's no room for promotion. They have got to give people a career path, because when you lose a person, you don't only lose that person doing the job, you lose all their knowledge. And if they've been there 4 or 5 years, my God, that's a lot of knowledge. So you've got to keep these people by giving them a career progression. And most firms really haven't sussed that out.
No.
Really haven't.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I totally agree, and it's quite a serious issue, because you don't get this type of profile or knowledge easily in different markets. Some markets have more offer than others, but there's markets that there is not people available, and they have to bring them from outside the legal world, which is fine. It's not the end of the world, but understanding the idiosyncrasy of the legal market in itself is quite challenging. So it takes a while until these people that come from elsewhere understand how it works. We have seen already professionals integrating into the partnership. But again, what that means is that the partnership needs to look at things beyond billing and finances. So any law firm that understands that building the law firm is not only about having partners billing, they will manage to get people that add value. On the other hand, I think also they need to make sure that they're being assessed and evaluated, because some of them might be with high salaries and not actually offering the right value.
Yeah.
So it's both ways. So I don't think that that there is an easy one.
I'm very much the view that business development is by its nature a fairly hands-on job. Whatever level you are at in the business, you need to be a bit hands-on. You can't delegate everything. Yeah. So there are a few overpaid people in BD who don't do much. They've got to be assessed correctly to make sure that they do the right things for the firm they are working in. It's about doing. Yeah.
I mean, what I've seen when, the cases that they don't do much, generally is because they feel stuck, because there's no room to grow. So they choose to just abandon. So that's why clear functions, clear expectations, and putting the energy and resources into the right place to make the most of it, I think it's crucial. And then when you develop the teams, and we've seen different structures, just develop teams that are adequate to the need of the law firm at the time. Don't try to replicate structures that do not match with your culture or your strategy, which that happens a lot, that they advise what's right or wrong. Well, let's just customize it, because it has to be very customized to the type as well of business that is this law firm focusing on.
And in my own experience, moving from a law firm into consultancy, what was actually required was straightforward. Law firms are recruiting and bringing in very able people to help them. It's, do they have the interpersonal skills to develop the respect which will enable them to persuade the partners to do what's required and go on the journey together.
Yeah, and there's another issue around that, which is when they have developed those ways of getting partners to do it, write it down. It's a process, it's a way, it's a methodology, because law firms are based so much on who knows who, and when people leave, that's the reason that they lose so much, because they haven't actually written down what John did before John left. So you can processize a lot of this, and then the clever bit that people do on the top is to do with their personality, and that you can't make up for when people leave. But there is best practice around all of this that needs to be written down so it can be replicated.
I mean, I think that the good thing is that nowadays there is more platforms that can collect some information that in the past it was not collected. So I think the possibilities on the intelligence and data-driven kind of BD practice now is very high. But what we're finding as well is that some law firms, they recruit lots of data gathering people, which they have very valuable background information, but maybe the communication skills and the language with partners are not adequate for partners to interpret that data well enough. So there is another gap, and it's an internal gap, and it's a missed opportunity.
And that's when a really skilled business development manager can do a lot of work.
And then we go back to, okay, why am I here? So if I'm a business development person or somebody that is trying to coordinate the function of, it could be client relationships, it is great that partners have ideas, but it is sometimes very undermining when partners go with only their own ideas and they don't incorporate, the planning established by the professional team, that they might actually say, look, thank you, let's put it within the plan, and then we'll do X, Y, and Z. The point is, can we coordinate and institutionalize, the practice and focus the energy where it goes? Again, can we empower professionals to allow them to also contribute with decisions? Or will you always have a partner behind saying, yes, Katie, well done, but no, Katie, I'll do that?
Yeah. It's listen to your clients. What are they asking you to do? See how you can respond and make sure you can respond to it. Have the governance in place that makes this work well and rewards and recognises the people who are doing it. And for God's sake, have a bit of fun doing it. Isn't BD a bit more fun than just sitting down and writing a contract, doing the law? Well, it is to me anyway. But this has to be enjoyable as well as being profitable. And they've got to get the enjoyment in there.
Watch the full conversation in detail at Lexington Consultants website and follow us for more insights.